Love history? Subscribe and explore the stories that shaped our world.
For over 2 centuries, Japan existed in a state of self-imposed isolation under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. But in 1854, the arrival of American Commodore Matthew Perry and his fleet of modern warships shattered this prolonged peace, forcing the country open to foreign trade. For the Japanese, the realization was immediate and terrifying. The nation was fundamentally defenseless against the military pressures and economic exploitation of Western powers. To avoid the colonial fate that was already befalling its Asian neighbors, Japan had to act swiftly. This shock of the West catalyzed a period of intense internal turmoil known as the Bakumatsu, which culminated in the Boshin War and the overthrow of the shogunate. In 1868, power was restored to the young Emperor Mutsuhito, marking the dawn of the Meiji Restoration. The new leadership understood that to resist Western imperialism, they had to study and adopt Western scientific, technological, and political systems. In a matter of decades, Japan underwent what is often regarded as the fastest modernization in human history. The feudal class system was abolished, stripping the legendary samurai of their military monopolies and traditional rice stipends. These stipends were replaced with government bonds, which many former samurai used as capital to start new businesses, giving birth to a network of fiercely competitive, family-controlled financial cliques known as the Zaibatsu. Giants like Mitsubishi, Mitsui, and Sumitomo partnered closely with the government to spearhead massive industrialization. Alongside economic upheaval came profound social and spiritual engineering. To unify the rapidly changing nation, the government separated the indigenous Shinto beliefs from Buddhism, elevating Shinto into a state-sponsored religion. State Shinto placed the emperor at the absolute center of the political and spiritual universe, promoting him as a divine descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu. This ideological framework was deeply ingrained in the newly established compulsory education system, ensuring that the next generation of Japanese citizens was raised with an ethos of absolute loyalty and obedience to the state. Concurrently, Japan established a modern conscript army modeled after European powers, preparing the nation to project its newfound strength beyond its borders.
As Japan rapidly industrialized, it encountered a profound structural problem. The home islands were severely limited in size and natural resources. To maintain its economic growth and support a burgeoning population, Japan became dependent on foreign markets for raw materials and food. The geographic reality of the Japanese state dictated a logic of formal empire. To secure its economic survival, Japan had to push outward. The immediate stepping stone to the Asian mainland was the Korean Peninsula. In 1876, employing the same gunboat diplomacy that Western powers had used on them, Japan forced Korea to open its ports to trade. This aggressive expansion encroached upon the traditional sphere of influence of China's Qing dynasty, inevitably leading to the First Sino-Japanese War in 1894. Japan's modernized military easily routed Chinese forces, securing the island of Taiwan and the strategic Liaodong Peninsula. However, this victory was immediately undermined by the Triple Intervention. Russia, Germany, and France collaborated to force Japan to return the Liaodong Peninsula, a humiliation that seeded deep resentment within the Japanese leadership. Tensions reached a boiling point when Russia, seeking a warm water port in the east, occupied Port Arthur on that very same peninsula and began encroaching upon Korea. Viewing this as a direct threat to its existence and imperial ambitions, Japan chose to strike. In February 1904, the Imperial Japanese Navy launched a surprise attack against the Russian Pacific Fleet at Port Arthur, sparking the Russo-Japanese War. Despite Russia possessing a vastly larger population and military, Japan held a crucial geographic advantage. While Russia struggled to resupply its forces across the single-track Trans-Siberian Railway, Japan efficiently transported troops across the narrow strait to the mainland. Following a series of stunning victories, culminating in the annihilation of the Russian Baltic Fleet at the Battle of Tsushima, Japan forced Russia to the negotiating table. The 1905 Treaty of Portsmouth formally recognized Japan's supremacy in Korea, which Japan annexed entirely in 1910. In Korea, the Japanese occupation was characterized by brutal cultural suppression, including the banning of the Korean language and the forced adoption of Japanese names, laying the groundwork for deep historical grievances that persist to this day.
In the aftermath of the Russo-Japanese War, Japan was recognized globally as a first-rate power. For a brief period following World War I, the nation experienced a wave of liberalization known as Taisho democracy, marked by the introduction of universal male suffrage and a flourishing two-party political system. However, this democratic experiment was fragile and short-lived. The global economic collapse triggered by the Great Depression in 1929 severely hindered Japan's export-driven economy. Rapid industrial expansion had turned the country into a manufacturing powerhouse, but it desperately required raw materials like iron, rubber, and oil, resources it largely imported from the United States. In the face of economic despair, many Japanese lost faith in capitalism and the civilian government. Capitalizing on this unrest, ultra-nationalist factions within the military began to assert control. These military hardliners believed that establishing economic self-sufficiency or autarky was the only way to guarantee national survival. The ideology of state Shinto was weaponized by the military, shifting from a tool of national unity to a doctrine of radical expansionism. Concepts like kokutai, or national essence, and hakurichiyu, the belief that the entire world should be united under the divine rule of the Japanese emperor, became the philosophical justifications for aggression. Acting independently of the civilian cabinet, the Japanese army fabricated the Mukden incident in 1931, using it as a pretext to invade the resource-rich region of Manchuria. There, they established the puppet state of Manchukuo, transforming it into a massive industrial base to support the Japanese war machine. The Zaibatsu profited immensely from this militarization, securing lucrative government contracts and expanding their corporate empires across the newly conquered territories. Domestic opposition was silenced through a campaign of political assassinations, bringing an end to civil democracy and locking Japan onto a path of totalitarian militarism. By 1937, skirmishes in northern China escalated into the Second Sino-Japanese War, a brutal conflict marked by horrific atrocities, most notably the Nanjing Massacre, where Japanese troops killed hundreds of thousands of civilians and prisoners of war. As Japan sank deeper into the quagmire of the war in China, relations with Western powers deteriorated. To legitimize its aggressive territorial expansion, the Japanese government heavily promoted a geopolitical concept known as the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. In its propaganda, Japan claimed it was fighting a holy war to liberate Asian nations from the shackles of Western colonialism. Pamphlets dropped over foreign territories declared Asia for the Asiatics, portraying Japan as a benevolent older brother destined to lead the region into a new era of spiritual unity and economic independence. In November 1943, Japan even hosted the Greater East Asia Conference in Tokyo, gathering leaders from puppet regimes in China, Manchuria, Burma, and the Philippines to praise Pan-Asian solidarity and condemn Western materialism. However, the soaring rhetoric of mutual prosperity masked a grim and exploitative reality. The true objective of the co-prosperity sphere was the relentless extraction of natural resources necessary to feed Japanese industry and the military. Japanese administrators managed the economies of occupied territories with absolute ruthlessness. In the Dutch East Indies, the primary goal was to seize and operate oil wells. In the Philippines, local agriculture was disastrously reorganized. Desperately needed food crops were replaced with cotton to supply Japanese uniforms, leading to widespread famine and disease. Across the empire, the local populations quickly realized that co-prosperity simply meant servitude to Japan's war effort. The Imperial Japanese Army utilized forced labor on a massive scale, resulting in the deaths of over 100,000 Burmese and Malay workers during the construction of the Burma-Siam Railway alone. Rather than finding liberation, many Asians concluded that the brutal military administration of the Japanese was worse than the rule of their former Western colonizers.
The fatal climax of Japan's imperial ambitions was precipitated by a deepening resource crisis. In the summer of 1941, in response to Japan's occupation of French Indochina, the United States imposed a total trade embargo, severing the flow of oil to the Japanese war machine. The Japanese leadership, recognizing that their oil reserves would only last a year or two, felt they had only two choices: humiliatingly abandon their empire in Asia or strike a decisive blow against the United States. Driven by the inflexible logic of empire, they chose the latter. On December 7, 1941, the Imperial Japanese Navy launched a devastating surprise attack on the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. While initially successful, this calculated gamble awakened an industrial giant. In the months that followed, Japan captured vast territories across Southeast Asia, including Malaya, Singapore, and the Philippines, taking tens of thousands of Allied prisoners. But the strategic advantage was fleeting. In June 1942, the Battle of Midway resulted in the catastrophic loss of 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, permanently crippling the offensive capabilities of the Japanese Navy. The tide had turned. Over the next 3 years, American forces executed a relentless island-hopping campaign, pushing the Japanese defensive perimeter back toward the home islands. By 1944, Allied submarines had strangled Japanese shipping routes, and the American Air Force commenced a devastating campaign of incendiary bombings that reduced dozens of Japanese cities to ashes. Despite catastrophic losses, the Japanese military stubbornly refused to yield. The absolute collapse of the empire finally arrived in August 1945. The United States dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, unleashing unprecedented destruction, while the Soviet Union simultaneously declared war and decimated the Japanese forces occupying Manchuria. Facing complete annihilation, Emperor Hirohito addressed the nation on the radio on August 15, 1945, announcing Japan's surrender and bringing the Second World War to a close. The consequences were monumental. The Empire of Japan was officially dissolved, and its territories were stripped away, returning the nation to its original archipelago. For the first time in its long history, Japan was occupied by a foreign power. Under the direction of American General Douglas MacArthur, the country was fundamentally restructured. The armed forces were disbanded, the powerful Zaibatsu conglomerates were broken up to democratize the economy, and state Shinto was severed from government control. In 1947, a new pacifist constitution was enacted. The emperor was stripped of his divine status, becoming a purely symbolic figurehead. From the ashes of a fallen militaristic empire, the foundation was laid for the peaceful, democratic, and economically vibrant Japan of the modern era.